Hi, I want you to reflect back to 2006 and put your hands up if that year you knew about penile cancer. See, I would say this is quite a lot of people, and I'm not putting my hand up. I say 2006 because that's when I joined the Centre for Men's Health. I had never heard of penile cancer, and I think shortly after joining, Alan and I went down to Oxford to talk to the researchers and the charity people behind Health Talk Online, and we were talking about ideas. I remember sitting in a cafeteria on the edge of Oxford, and I don't think I had any idea that we would be looking at penile cancer. And then a couple of months later, I had a meeting with Ian Ridley at St James's Hospital in Leeds, and we were just talking about ideas about the way in which the Centre for Men's Health could join up and collaborate with the urologists at Jimmy's. And penile cancer was just one of a number of ideas. And what struck me about it was the way in which services have been centralised. That in the UK, we were leading globally in terms of making sure that people who had penile cancer were being treated by urologists who had experience of that. These urologists potentially are seeing 30 to 40 patients a year rather than 2 during their whole career. So moving on from that meeting with Ian, that was just an idea. And then I helped organise a conference in Leeds, and one of the papers being presented was by Kate Bullen, and that was on a study of penile cancer in Aberystwyth, in Wales. And I thought, there's something here that we could connect up, Kate's research in Wales, the developments in urological services across the UK with the Health Talk Online website. And I think particularly because penile cancer is rare, and so for most people who get it, they're very unlikely to come across somebody who's had it or knows about somebody who's had it. And I think there's an additional element that people who have penile cancer are maybe less likely to talk publicly about it. So there may be people who have it, and I'm thinking particularly people who are sitting in waiting rooms potentially next to other men with penile cancer who aren't talking about it. So the website is a fantastic resource for this. So as a group of people, we came together and said, let's try and do something. And now years later, we're here, we can reflect on what we've created. So the project that we conducted, we started off with a pilot workshop. And the reason for this is that conducting research, we want to involve patients, those people who have this cancer, in research. So we decided to have a one-day event where we had 10 people who could help us think about the type of questions we would be asking. And we were also giving them the chance to conduct their own interviews to learn about how we do research. Now from that, we then went on to the main interviews, the middle element. Now it's quite interesting that with the pilot workshop, a lot of the men went on to the second one who were interviewed, but we also got to speak to people who wouldn't be involved in the main research. So the benefits of the pilot workshop, that we were including people who wouldn't necessarily be involved in this Health Talk Online study. So as Alan said, we interviewed 27 people across the country, and in fact it was Carl who did all the interviews, who's sitting over there just now, who's did a fantastic job. And I think he's like the face of this study. He's the one that all participants saw, and there's Vicky as well, who's over there, who was like the voice, who was the person on the phone sending out the letters. And so from those interviews, we created our demonstration, our test website, which we evaluated so that participants could have one more step in building this website. And so now we're here, and we have a chance to kind of reflect on what we've achieved. And this is the website. And you can see that what we've got here is, this bit is the main website. So you've got an introduction to penile cancer, and you've got 6 main topics, and you've got people's experiences. So if you go to that, for example, you'll get a page on signs and symptoms. If you go to that, then you'll see a list of the people, so you can go directly to the people. And you see here, this is a printable handout. So this is something we added, and it's a one-page printout that you've got on your seats. So what we're hoping is that clinicians and nurses might be using this in their own clinical practice so that they can give this to participants directly to it. And even for people who you think they might not use the internet, they may take this leaflet home and talk to their family and friends about this, and their family and friends might help them use the internet. And there were people we interviewed who, for example, talked about using the internet with their niece or their daughter. And so on the other side, which I haven't get to, we then see the different list of topics, which are all the areas that people talked about. And it's almost like a chronological list. We have the early signs, and then we've got more topics in terms of diagnosis, what happens there. Then there's treatment, after treatment, and then 2 sections reflecting on their experiences. And I think, really, I was saying this is a time for reflection, particularly for me, because it's terrifying being up here, but this is such a kind of privilege for me to be involved in this study, to work with Carl, to learn about these people's experiences, to have the resources to spend time on this project, and to be a partner with Health Talk Online, who are doing such a fantastic job. So, I've got a list of people to say thank you, in case I forget people. Obviously, Carl and Vicky and Alan, everyone else at Leeds Metropolitan University. There's Julie, who was our buddy, who is a researcher at Oxford, who's looked over every element that's on this website, and she's not just read what we've written, she's read all the interviews as well, and there's been I think she's like the brains behind the operation, if Carl and Vicky are the face and voice. I think as well there's Ian and Alan said thank you to the participants, but there's also the clinicians across the country who've helped us get in touch with these patients and tell them about the study so that we could interview them. So thank you to you, and I suppose the last is all the kind of academic and clinical experts who've read through the website to give us their own expertise about how we can improve it and make this, such a fantastic resource. And of course, last but not least, thank you to the participants who are here. And I'm going to pass you on now to a short montage of the website.